Well, see, Nigeria wants to bring a large and growing digital asset economy into the formal tax system. Some digital asset stakeholders agree with that objective, but warn that taxing transactions rather than profits could push users away from regulated platforms and towards offshore exchanges, P2P transactions and other less visible channels. That creates an interesting policy question. Can Nigeria increase tax revenue from crypto without driving activity out of the formal economy? Joining me for this conversation now, we have Martins Okebugu, the spokesperson, Digital Asset Coalition, and he joins me right here in the studio. It's great to have you. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so many years ago, definitely in this industry, there was always talk about how taxing digital assets, what that would look like. But we're here now, and we're already seeing the regulators trying to put out some guidelines at this point. Let me start with the headline now. Is the Digital Assets Coalition, are you opposed to taxing cryptocurrency in Nigeria? I know you represent them. What's the game here?
All right, thank you. We are not opposed to taxing. If you're doing business within a jurisdiction, it does make sense that you actually pay tax. What we are opposed to is taxing movement of money instead of the profit thereof. And then, of course, that goes to also say that we are excited that about the policy direction already. Prior to this time, we had a lot of uncertainties with respect to regulation, but clearly the body language of the regulators is that they want to actually regulate the industry and then be able to get the best out of it. So we are not opposed to tax.
Right, and definitely you see you don't like the 1.5% duty. I see you're against that. Your association is against that. So it almost seems like, are you looking for preferential treatment here when it comes to taxes? Okay. That's for the digital asset space.
All right, I think it's not preferential treatment. If you ask me, we are looking for some level of fairness compared to what is also done in the traditional sense of things. For example, if you move 10 million naira today from your bank to another bank, the stamp duty is about 50 naira. That's about 0.005% or thereabout. But in this case, you're paying 150,000 for the same transaction, amount of transaction. Of course, what that means is that people will be looking for every other avenue to move money but crypto. Now, and in this case also, it's a two-edged sword. This is how it works. If I want to buy crypto from an exchange with Naira, now, because I'm the recipient of that crypto, I am taxed 1.5%. And then, if it's the other way around, and I'm selling crypto to an exchange, because the exchange is the recipient of that crypto, they are taxed 1.5%. Now, if you look at it globally, there is no exchange that even makes as much as 1.5% on any transaction. There is none, right? Interestingly, yesterday I was watching Channels TV, Sunday Politics, I believe, and Mr. Zach Adedeji was on that program. One of the things that, great man by the way, very intelligent and an excellent man, one of the things that he said that stood out for me was that the whole intention of their approach is to tax prosperity and not poverty, to tax the fruit and not the seed. But you're talking about preferential treatment, but how we feel is that the entire tree is actually taxed right now. And that's what we're actually coming to say, that it will be difficult for us to do that, because what happens in the end, we pass that fee or that stamp duty to the customers, and then the customers will not be able to carry it, and they will go offshore. And that would mean that even the tax that you're trying so hard to get, you will kill the local businesses, and then you won't also be able to
So
get
what would you
taxed.
say is the best way around this, so that we get some kind of win-win scenario?
Okay, let's even talk about the withholding tax as well, because it's being able to marry both of them, and then we can move forward. Now, the withholding tax, I think one of the good things they actually did is the fact that stables are exempted from withholding tax, but then non-stables like BTC and I think category 1, 3 and 5 in their circular, they are the ones that are actually, this credited to the, the withholding tax, credited ahead of the end of the tax year. Now, what happens in this case? If I do a transaction of, I bought Bitcoin for 2 million, and then due to the volatility, I end up having 1 million at some point, and then I want to sell it off. What happens in this case? The exchange is supposed to withhold 1%, that is about 10,000 of that transaction. Now, I have lost 50%, and then I'm being taxed. Now, just picture it in the Nigerian sense of things, especially with social media. What happens? Because in this case, the customer will be after your life, because he has already made a loss and you're holding back his money. And there is no much education out there to actually explain to them that this money is not for the exchange, that you're to transmit it to an NRS and all that. So when you look at all of those, it's basically the fact that we are taxing the movement of money and not the profit. And that until we can even determine what that profit is, it's difficult for us to go ahead to even tax the profit, right? So one of the things we are saying is that they haven't gotten everything wrong, but there is need for the stakeholders to be brought on board to actually ask them what works, right? Because one of the things I had already mentioned is that we don't even make as much as 1%, let alone 1.5%, right? So a lot of these things are basically anti-growth.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So definitely tax the profit, not the movement.
Yes.
That's the message at this point. All right. Consultations are still ongoing at this point. I would definitely hope that we all meet somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
At this point. Thank you so much, Martins. Okebugu is the spokesperson, Digital Asset Coalition. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Fantastic. Yeah.